Welcome to the Blanca Wellness Podcast. Thank you for being here. Take a breath, let your shoulders drop slightly, and let's sit with something today that most people carry without realizing they have a choice. Imagine holding a glass of water in your outstretched hand. In the first few seconds, it asks almost nothing of you. It is simply there, present and light. Now hold it for an hour. The glass has not changed. It weighs exactly what it weighed at the beginning. But your arm has become genuinely painful in a way that has nothing to do with the object itself, and everything to do with how long you have been refusing to set it down. The suffering is not in the glass. It is in the sustained holding. Most emotional burdens work exactly this way, and most people never quite make this distinction. When something painful happens, a relationship ends, a betrayal occurs, a dream does not arrive the way it was supposed to, the pain of the original event is real and it makes complete sense. But then time passes, and the event moves into the past where it cannot be changed, and something interesting happens. The event stops, and the carrying continues. The relationship ended in a specific moment. The mind has been returning to it for years. The original wound may have been unavoidable. The ongoing weight of it is something different, something that is being maintained, often without conscious awareness, through the daily decision to keep picking the glass back up. Here is a question worth sitting with honestly. How much of what you are currently experiencing as pain comes from what actually happened? And how much comes from continuing to hold it? Most people, when they examine this carefully, discover that the two are not as equal as they assumed. The original event had a specific weight. The accumulated carrying has added considerably to it. A student once asked his teacher why he was still suffering so much over something that had happened years before. The teacher thought for a moment, and then said, "Because part of you is still trying to change what has already occurred." The student sat with that for a while in silence, because he recognized it as true. The mind, when it encounters something painful that it cannot resolve, does not simply file the experience away and move forward. It returns to it repeatedly with a quality of insistence that suggests it genuinely believes the outcome can still be altered through sufficient review. That one more return to the scene, one more examination of the evidence, will finally yield the different conclusion that would allow everything to settle. The past cannot be renegotiated, but the mind, not knowing this in the felt sense, keeps trying. The Taoists returned to water as their primary teacher on almost every question about how to move through life, and on the question of holding on, the teaching is clear. Water does not pause halfway down a hillside and refuse to continue. It does not cling to the shape of one particular channel when the channel narrows or changes direction. It moves through whatever is available to it, adapts continuously to the ground beneath it, and keeps flowing. Not because it is indifferent to where it has been, but because moving is simply what water does. Stillness is not water's nature. Forward movement is. Human beings suffer, the Taoists observed, precisely because we attempt to freeze moments that were never designed to be permanent. We try to hold the water still, and the effort of holding, the sustained grip on something that is by nature moving, produces exactly the exhaustion of the outstretched arm. The pain that is not in the thing itself, but in the refusal to allow it to continue past us. Think about the tree in autumn. The leaves have served their purpose for the season. They belonged to this particular chapter of the tree's life, and they were genuinely valuable in it. Then the season changes, and the tree releases them, not because they were worthless, not because the tree is indifferent to what it has carried, but because the next season requires the branches to be clear. The new growth that spring will bring cannot arrive on branches still cluttered with what belonged to autumn. The release is not loss. It is the condition that makes the next arrival possible. Many people resist this because of a misunderstanding about what letting go actually means. There is a fear, often unexamined, that releasing something is the same as declaring it unimportant, that moving forward is a kind of betrayal of what happened, a way of saying it did not matter. This misunderstanding keeps people carrying things that they would genuinely be better off setting down because they have confused significance with weight. But the significance of an experience does not live in the burden of its daily carrying. A relationship can have been genuinely meaningful and still be something you allow to move into the past rather than living in the present. A loss can have been real and important and still be something you grieve fully and then, gradually, at your own pace, release. The memory remains. The lesson remains. What releases is the struggle with what has already been decided by time. There is a story about a traveler who added a stone to his pack every time something difficult happened to him. A disappointment, a mistake, a hurt that he wanted to make sure he never forgot. Over years, the pack became extremely heavy, and eventually he could barely move under its weight. An old man, watching him struggle, asked why he was carrying so many stones. "Because they happened to me," the traveler said. The old man nodded slowly. "Yes," he said. "But why are you still carrying them?" The traveler had no answer, and the absence of an answer was itself the answer. That somewhere along the way, the carrying had stopped being a conscious decision and had simply become a habit, a way of moving through the world so established that it no longer occurred to him that another way was possible. This does not resolve quickly, and it would be dishonest to suggest it does. The heart moves at its own pace, which tends to be considerably slower than the mind would prefer. You cannot command grief to finish on a schedule. You cannot force release before the release is genuinely ready to happen. What you can do is stop feeding the weight. Stop returning to the same memory, expecting a different outcome. Stop reopening the wound to examine it when you have already extracted everything it has to offer. Stop picking up the glass every time you notice you have managed to set it down for a moment, not forcing the letting go. Simply ceasing, gradually, and with some gentleness toward yourself, to actively maintain the holding. As we close today, think about one thing you have been carrying that has become heavier than the original event warranted. Not to force an immediate release, just to notice the weight of it honestly, perhaps for the first time in a while. To ask yourself whether the carrying is still serving any purpose, that the original pain has not already served. And to remember, without pressure, that you can set it down, not because it did not matter, because you have been holding it long enough, and your arm deserves to rest. Thank you for being here with me today. Until next time, be well.